I want to talk about derivational ways of word formation process. And there are 13 derivational ways of word formation process. And two of them, which are derivational affixation and compounding, have already talked about from my previous videos. And you can check them out if you need to. Here I'm going to talk about the rest 11 derivational ways of word formation process. They are blending, lexical cloning, or you call it reduplication, acronymization, clipping, conversion, back formation, onomatopeia, coinage, eponyms, borrowings, or you call it loanwords, and criticization. So let's get into it. Firstly, let's talk about blending. Blending way of derivational word formation process is sort of like a compounding way. But the difference between blending and compounding is that when we are blending two words into one word, we cut a part of those two words and keep the rest part, and then we put the rest part together to form a new word. So let's look at some examples. Let's look at the word smoke, right? So basically it is blended from the word smoke and fog. But before we blend them together, we cut part of OKE from the word smoke, and the first letter F from the word fog. Then we put the rest parts together as a smoke. Let's look at the word smaze. So we cut part of OKE from the word smoke and the first letter H from the word haze, and then put the rest parts together as a smaze. The word branch, we cut the part of EAKFAST of the word breakfast, and we cut off the letter H from the word haze, from the word lunch. Then we'll put the red part together as a branch. So modem, so we cut part of modulator from the word modulator, and modulator, and we cut part of modulator from the word demodulator and put the red part together as modem. The word infotainment, so we cut the part RMATION from the word information, and we cut off the part entertainment, enter from the word entertainment, and put the rest part together as infotainment. I want to point out that sometimes those cutted parts can be front part of a word or back part of a word. So it doesn't need to be always, the front part of a word or back part of a word should be cut it off. So let's talk about coinage. Coinage basically means the new invented vocabulary, new invented words. So it's quite obvious from the word coinage to guess its meaning. There's not much to talk about it, but I want to give those examples, like the word Teflon, aspirin, and Kleenex. So Teflon is a tough synthetic resin used to coat non-sticky cooking utensils, right? So it's basically a new invented object which people give a name to it. Aspirin is a tablet of any pain-killing drug, right? It's a new invented object and people give a name to it. Kleenex, a unbranded name of an absorbent disposable paper tissue, right? So let's look at clipping. Clipping, to put it simply, basically it is a newly formed word by cutting part of a word. Well, let me put it this way. So the formed word by clipping way of word formation process is basically by cutting part of a word to form a new word, right? Let's look at some examples. For example, clipping, there are 3 ways of clipping. So let's talk about back clipping. Back clipping, basically you just cut off the back part of a word and keep the front part of a word as a new word, right? So let's look at the word condominium. Condominium, we cut the back part minium and keep the front part condom as a new word. The word examination, we cut the back part enation and keep the front part exam. So this is called back clipping. And let's look at fore clipping. Fore clipping is basically cut the front part of a word and keep the back part of a word as a new word, right? Words like telephone, we cut the front part tele, keep the back part phone as a new word. Airplane, cut the front part air and keep the back part plane as a new word. And the third part of clipping is mixed. Mixed is basically it is referring to the part of a word actually you can cut from, middle or both from, front or middle or back and middle. Even you cut it from both front and back and keep the middle part, right? So let's look at some examples. In the word situation comedy, we can cut, the middle part euation and the back part id to put the rest part together as a sitcom, right? And let's look at the word influenza. We can cut the front part in, also back part enza, so keep the middle part flu. It's quite straightforward. And right now let's look at the next one, back formation. Back formation is quite identical as back clipping. And the difference is that in back formation, derivational word formation process, the back part that is cut it off also add some components. Sometimes it doesn't need to be, but sometimes there is a component needed to be added. Let's take the word donation. So we cut the back part ION and keep the front part, but by adding the letter E. So the newly formed word is donate. And the word option. So we cut the back part ION and keep the front part opt. And babysitter, right? So the same way, cut the back part of TER and keep the front part babysit. So let's look at conversion. Conversion has two parts. The first part is change of grammatical category, and the second part is semantic shift. So let's look at change of grammatical category. So what does it mean? It means actually a noun can become a verb, and a verb can become a noun. So in the example words butter, so if we put a to in front of a butter, to butter, so the butter from noun becomes a verb. Vacation, if we put a to in front of vacation, so the vacation of a noun becomes a verb. A doctor is the same way. It's a noun, and its a noun becomes a verb. To doctor, right? Also a verb to noun. Let's look at must. Must is a modal verb. If we put a must, it becomes a noun, right? Example like to see through, right? To see through. It's a it's a verb to becomes see added hyphen and through, and from a verb to a noun, right? So let's look at semantic shift. Semantic shift, basically it means a word can has different meanings, right? Let's take the word mouse, right? It's one way it can mean an animal. Another way it can mean a computer device which you use to operate your computer. The next one, acronymization. Acronymization has four parts. Let's look at the first part, letter words. I want to say that from those example words presented under letter words, don't forget about NATO and LOL. We just look at those two words, AIDS and UNICEF. So to put it simply, letter words way of derivational word formation process are those capitalized letter units. Those capitalized letter units don't represent the first letter of an organization's name, or the name of some concepts, right? So let's take the example AIDS. So AIDS represent acquired immunodeficiency syndrome. So we can see that AIDS those capitalized letter units doesn't represent the first letter of those names, right? Those names of this, this disease. And let's take the second one, UNICEF. UNICEF stands for United Nations Children's Fund. So we can see that those capital letters in the units don't represent the initial letter of each word. So this is about letter words. Whereas about the next part, we're going to talk about alphabetisms or initialisms. Those capitalized letter units are representing the first letter of the words. So let's take the example VIP. VIP stands for very important person. So it's basically take the first letter of the names and from the capitalized letter unit VIP. CD stands for compact disc. IBM stands for International Business Machines. So NBA stands for National Basketball Associations. You can see all those capitalized letter units are representing the first letter of the words, right? In the organization names, right? So next, let's talk about syllable words. Syllable words, basically, it's sort of like blending, but it is taking like 3 or more words, or let me say it again. It's taking a part of those 3 or more than 3 words and put them together. Let's look at the example. Benelux. So Benelux is the name of the name Benelux is derived from the initial syllables of the of the country Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, right? So it's focusing on the syllable and the initial syllable of a word. So if we take those 3 countries' name and put them together, it becomes Benelux. So this is about syllable words. And the last part of acronymization is mixed. Mixed, I would put it that it is a word that is representing a phrase or clause, right? Let's take the example radar. So radar is a word, but it represents radio detecting and ranging, right? So let's look at lexical cloning. Lexical cloning has 2 parts. The first part is partial cloning. The second part is complete cloning. So about partial cloning, it's basically reduplicate part of a word, combine this part of a first word with other part element to form a new word. Right, let's look at the example. Holocaust and podcast. So let's look at the word Holocaust. In the word Holocaust, we take its part US out of the word Holocaust and put POC with the part US from the Holocaust together to form a second word podcast, right? So the word podcast is formed from a part of from the part US of the word Holocaust to from the word podcast, right? To put it simply, basically, Holocaust podcast, the second word is formed by adding part of a part of the first word with other elements to form a new word, right? So the second word example, like Humpty Dumpty. So the second word Dumpty is formed by combining part of a part of the first word with added element, in this case the letter D, to form the second word, right? So dumpty. So dumpty is formed by adding part of the first word with the added letter D to form the word dumpty. So Humpty Dumpty. In the second part of lexical cloning, it's called complete. Basically, you can guess from it the word complete basically is just double the first word and make a word doubled, right? In the case like salad, late, book, right? Let's talk about onomatopeia. Onomatopeia is actually the word that is resembling the noises that human or animals are make, right? So we are making new words from those identical or identical sounds, right, from human or animals. Example words like sizzle, buzz, haze. And let's look at acronyms. Acronyms, well, by definition, acronyms means that the newly formed word is derived from, for example, people's names. What do I mean by that? Let's take the example Hoover. Hoover is named after the person Hoover William, and Hoover is a vacuum clean company, right? Vacuum clean company, but it is created from the person Hoover William. Boycott, right? Boycott. The word boycott is named from the person's name, Captain Charles C. Boycott, right? Cardigan. Cardigan is named from the person James Thomas Burdaniel, 7th Earl of Cardigan. And Sandwich is named from the 1st Earl of Sandwich, right? For those people who don't know, 1st Earl is the person holds the title of Earl for the first time, right? So basically, eponyms are those newly are eponym words are from the person who invented it or who have some associations with it. Then let's talk about criticization. Criticization, I would say, firstly, let's look at its definition. So, it is referring to an unstressed word that namely occurs in combination with another word. By looking at its definition, I think it's quite confusing. It's better to focus on the examples. Right? Let's look at example. They are driving to Mexico, but we'll just focus on the part they are. Right? They are obviously is combined by two words, they and are, but we can put them together as pronounced as one word, right? They are. So we critique those two words together, right? Instead of they are driving to Mexico, we just they are driving there, right? To pronounce it as one word. So let's look at the last one, borrowings. Borrowings have borrowings has two parts. The first part is loan words. The second part is loan translation or calc. In the part of loan words, basically we just took the original word from another language to use it in your mother language, right? But I want to clarify something that this taken word from another language sometimes can be pronounced a little bit different or written in a little bit varied forms, but all in all, the pronunciation and the letter words are still identical, right? For example, let's take the Polish word ketchup. Ketchup is similar like the ketchup, right? And it sounds similar and it's written similar. And let's take a second word, business woman, right? Business woman is, as you can see, it's from the word business woman. So the word business woman in Polish is sounding like English word business woman, and also the writing form is looking like the English word business woman, right? So this is about loan words. Whereas about loan translations or calc, it's about the translated meaning from the foreign languages, right? So, for example, in English, skyscraper. In English, we call we call the gigantic building, tall building, as skyscraper. And if we translate this skyscraper into Polish, it's called Delapache whom, right? So Delapache whom is referring to skyscraper in Polish. Also, we can make a comparison between those two parts of borrowings, right? You can see that in the first part, loan words, those so-called loaned words from foreign languages are identical, either identical both in pronunciation and writing, whereas those loan translation words from the foreign languages are actually the native words of the mother language, right? And basically that's it. I want to clarify the back formation part of word formation process. From the above mentioned, I didn't state it accurately, and to clarify it, I would say there are only two main points to take away. The first one is that back formation process is by removing a suffix or perceived suffix to create a new word, or put it simply, actually to create a new word by shortening the longer word from its back part. So examples are like enticement by shortening back part meant to become entice. Surveillance by shortening back part length to become surveil, right? Babysitter by cutting off the back part tr becomes babysit. This is about first part. Second part is that the grammatical function of the word changes. Mostly it's changing from a noun to a verb. Let's take the same example words. Let's take the word enticement, for example. After shorten the back part meant to become entice, it is from a noun to a verb. So enticement is a noun. After shortening, it becomes the verb entice. And surveillance is a noun, and after shorten the back part, it becomes surveil. It is a verb, right? Babysitter, it's a noun. After shortening the back part, it becomes babysit. It becomes a verb, right? So those are the two parts I want to clarify about